to feel grateful, to feel thankful for what we have, look at the positive. But this is not just something that is told to us and therefore we should do it. How science supports and what science says about practicing gratitude. So we've been talking about, attention, how we can train attention to look at the bright side. We've also been talking about mm, how the brain was designed to look out for negativity bias. And not that we can completely eliminate the negativity bias, but how we can train the other side, which is to also notice the good and staying with it long enough for the brain to actually start encoding it. And that's what this week is about. Today, we will talk more about why we rush past good moments and how we can learn, we can train ourselves to stay with them. Now, we know that we stay a lot with things that have not worked out well, with difficult situations, um, challenges, say criticism. It stays a lot longer with us, and perhaps there's good reason for the brain to do that. But we can also learn to receive joy, because joy is not something that life is giving to us, say periodically or at intervals. It's something we must learn to receive, because it's not true that life has no joy. We can struggle with joy because we are not staying long enough with joy, and we could think, this was nice, but what's next? So can we move from saying this was nice, what's next, to this moment also matters and I'm going to let it stay? And how do we do that? So before we get into more talking and more understanding, we'll just take a few minutes to arrive, to ground ourselves, come into the session. And for that, I'd like you to sit comfortably. If you are lying down, that's okay as well, as long as you're alert. And then moving your awareness to your body. You can close your eyes or lower your gaze. And connecting with the body, noticing the body, how the body is feeling today, without judging it, wanting it to be any different, simply noticing what is already present. We're not searching for anything extraordinary in this time. We're just noticing what is. And there could be ordinary comfort as well. So you could notice the support you have beneath you, the chair supporting you. You could notice if there's any coolness in the air. You could notice your heartbeat, the rhythm of your breath. Just this feeling of being alive. And then checking, is anything wrong in this moment as it is? Is anything wrong in this moment as it is? And then also setting an intention for today. It could be, I want to become more available to joy, to peace, to connection, whatever it is that you want to start paying more attention to. So, yeah, setting an intention for our time together, for whatever you want to take away from today. And also reflecting on perhaps when was the last time you paused to take in something good that happened, paid enough attention to it, spend enough time on it. Maybe you watched a sunset, someone complimented you, you laughed with a friend. And how long did you stay with that moment before you moved on from it? Just keeping that in your awareness, again, not to judge ourselves. And with that, connecting with the breath, with the body one more time. And slowly you can open your eyes. Now, we've been talking about gratitude, and there is something that gratitude actually does in the brain. But this is not performed gratitude, it's actually felt gratitude. Now, the brain releases both dopamine, which is the motivation and the pleasure chemical, as well as serotonin, which is the mood stability chemical, at the same time when we genuinely feel gratitude. Now, this is unusual. Most pleasurable experiences, they produce one or the other and not both simultaneously. So gratitude can do that. It can help us create both more of both of these chemicals in the body, in the brain. Now, research has also found that gratitude activates something called the medial prefrontal cortex. It's the region of the brain that is associated with empathy, with moral reasoning, and interpersonal warmth. And it also activates the brain's core reward system. But other than practicing gratitude and genuinely feeling gratitude, one thing that we also spoke about today, which can create the most lasting change, is from something called attention training. So um, when we train our attention, when we practice our attention to go on things that are positive, that are meaningful, that are nice about ourselves and our lives and our worlds, our brain starts noticing more of what is good more quickly, more automatically. So it does not again mean that you are ignoring what is not right. It does not mean that you're ignoring the difficulties of life. It just means that the brain is developing the capacity to hold both the difficult and the good. It's not either or. And the brain is now no longer relying on seeing only one side of life or of a situation or for ourselves. Now, we have been in some ways trained to keep moving. So when something good happens, the immediate question is what's next now? So we could have our own answers, but we could say things like back to work. I was lucky. I could have done better. Now I need to achieve the next thing. We rarely stop. So it's like we are consuming all of our experiences. We are no longer inhabiting them. So words like productivity matter a lot. Words like efficiency matter a lot because we want to just get more done in the time that we have, and it's never enough. We buy something, we then focus our attention to the next thing. We are not staying, and that's something maybe that the world we live in today, at times we could think it demands of us. Now, we did, as I said, speak about the negativity bias. Now, that's one idea which says that the mind can focus more on the negative because those are threats and it needs to protect us. But there's another idea. Now, the brain, it quickly adapts to positive experiences. And psychologists, they call it the, the hedonic adaptation. So, what at one point seemed extraordinary or something wonderful, it has slowly become ordinary. So, whether it's a new home, whether it's the promotion, it's a happy relationship, we've recovered, our health, we could have prayed for something, it's come true. And eventually, that has become the new normal. Now, it's not like we don't care any longer, but the brain is trying to conserve its attention by treating what's familiar as the background. So maybe thinking, and we did try that in our reflection yesterday when we practiced at the end of the session. But you can think what in your life that you have today was once something you deeply wished for. Is there something in your life today that at some point was extraordinary, was wonderful, and today it's just there? It's the background of your life. We all have things like that, which is again because of this idea of hedonic adaptation, where the mind is no longer focused on something that meant so much just some time back. Now, another thing that I'd like to touch upon that's very different from, what I've been saying so far is that for some of us, joy can feel unsafe. Not consciously, but psychologically. And I also hear that question at times from people that if I'm too happy, will I have to be, sad? If I rejoice too much, it means that life is going to throw more challenges. So people can fear celebrating because they fear disappointment. They don't want to celebrate. So there's always this lurking thought: if I get too happy, something will go wrong. And that could be one thought. The other thought could be that we need to minimize our joy because we need to stay humble. And that means, we need to shrink ourselves. There could be others who could think that, if they feel too joy, they start feeling guilty. Other people are suffering, or my parents are not doing well. How can I be happy? Do I deserve this? Can also be another thought. And there could be some of us who don't know how to stop. So the identity has then become the helper, the achiever, the problem solver. We could be, inhabiting all of these identities without having the identity of the receiver. So again, no matter what the reason is, whether it's fear, it's guilt, it's uh, it's feeling, like you have to be humble, it's a lack of self-worth, whichever it is. I would like you to just think about that in case it applies to you. What makes it difficult for you to receive joy fully? Or it could be something else and none of these. But what for you makes it difficult to receive goodness fully, receive joy fully? Just so we get to know ourselves a bit better. Now, while all of this is happening, science also says that if we stay with a positive experience for some time, say 30 seconds around or a minute, the brain gets the time to encode it more deeply. Why does that happen? Now, memory isn't created just because something has happened. Lots of things are happening around us all the time. There are all of these sensory inputs, all of these experiences the mind is having. When we look back at our lives, it's not like we remember everything. So again, memory is not created just because something has happened. Memory is strengthened when attention remains on something. So the hippocampus, it needs time. And any emotion, it needs presence to really be encoded. So when we pay attention, it tells the brain that this matters and the brain should keep it. So yeah, just thinking about it, just staying with it, that even as I said yesterday, I think that even when we do something good for ourselves, and we can spend some time, maybe a minute or so, just to feel, say grateful for ourselves, or feel congratulate ourselves, reflect on the benefits of the experience that it has given to us. Say we go for a walk, and and then once we come back, we spend 30 seconds to a minute thinking about how the walk has benefited us. It reinforces, it creates positive motivation. It creates internal motivation for us to do things better. And the same is true for experiences that we have. So when we stop to think more deeply about, to sit with, to stay present with something that's nice, something that's joyful, say we receive help from someone, anything that really opens the heart and makes us feel happy, excited, confident. The more we stay with that, the deeper it goes into our system and the more it impacts our mood and long term sustainable joy. Another thing that I would like to add here, which again, we could start thinking, is that um, are we pretending that life is wonderful? Because positive psychology is often misunderstood. Mm, And again, I would like to say that it is not pretending that life is wonderful. It is not overlooking um, our challenges. It is not taking away, our time and attention from, say, things that are important and need to be addressed. It is simply refusing to let difficulty be the only thing that we are noticing. Because a balanced mind can hold both things together. This week has been difficult, and this morning I had a great time when I went for a run. Both are real. And we are not then choosing between the two, we are making room for both. And that's the distinction. Now, um, again, one more thing that I would like to say is that joy is not the same as pleasure. And we can, it's important, I think, to make that distinction, because we can confuse stimulation with joy. So, say pleasure could be derived from short lived experiences which are externally driven, stimulating. We could feel like, scrolling on the phone makes me relax, it's giving me pleasure. Um, Binge watching something, shopping online, feeling entertained. These things are not what we're talking about when it comes to feeling joy or positive psychology, because joy is something which is, it's more expansive, it's internally experienced, and it's something that's deeply satisfying. So we are not relying again on things that only create dopamine for us. It's really looking for experiences that give us deeply satisfying, expansive happiness. So with pleasure, we can be restless and keep thinking about what's next. And with joy, perhaps in the moment when we are experiencing something, we know that that's real happiness. What could also come in the way of experiencing, say, joy, or experiencing restfulness is the fact that we like being busy. So it can be uncomfortable to simply enjoy something. Now, if we build our identity over what we do, what we achieve, about productivity, then the inner dialogue always is I should not be wasting time. I should be doing something else. I'll enjoy this after I finish everything. But everything never finishes because everything is everything. It's so much. So we could be sometimes postponing joy indefinitely because we might believe that we need to earn it first. And but the fact also is, that especially for high achievers, that achievement creates anticipation. So mm, there's always a next thing to look forward to. There is a next project, next promotion, next house, next holiday, whatever. There's a next goal, and and we are rushing through these goals. Now, again, it's not bad to have goals. It can be really helpful to have goals. So, not to say that we should not have goals, but the point is that can we rest with what we have before we quickly move on to the next goal or the next thing or the next, activity? So, can we learn to savor what is present so that we're not feeling empty with with our success. Also, some of us could find it hard to receive compliments. So just think about, when someone compliments you, what do you usually say? Just thinking about that. When someone compliments you, what do you usually say? You could say, oh, it was nothing. I just got lucky. Anyone could have done it. We minimize ourselves. And I think the best way to respond when someone gives you a compliment is to say thank you. But it can be hard, it can be hard to receive compliments when we really don't believe that we are deserving, or we could minimize our own achievements, we could minimize our qualities. So again, when someone offers us a compliment, can we stay with it? And can we acknowledge it to ourselves? And can we become comfortable with receiving love, appreciation, kindness from others? It's also something to reflect about. Now, is there anything else I want to talk about? Um, yeah. Okay. There are a couple of questions that maybe I just wanted to let look at. Um, Abhilasha is asking how to practice distinction because brain tends to think about difficulties more. Exactly. And therefore, we can maybe, as a practice, allocate some time. So, the gratitude journaling that we are talking about, we can every day before we sleep or at any fixed time in the day, if that's available, use our attention to find things that were good in the day and write them down. You could also do that for yourself. So, say if you struggle with self worth or you struggle with feeling confident, then you could write 10 good about things about yourself every day. And I've seen in my experience that's the most challenging thing for people to do who are struggling with confidence. They just can't find 10 good things to write about themselves. So that's a great exercise because we want to bring our attention to what's also good. And and when we use our time, we consciously, scan the day, scan ourselves, scan our lives. We will be able to find, maybe it's more difficult in the beginning, but with time, with practice, we can become more adept at it. And again, the brain only does what we teach it. So the more we teach it, the better it becomes at finding the good. So please try that, Abhilasha, and see in a week, you know, if there is a change. Now,
Yes, I will try. I will try, ma'am.
yeah, please try. Okay. And then you're also saying that if we can take a class on saying no and how to overcome the guilt after saying no. Yeah, that will be a good topic. I'll just put it down. Maybe sometime next week we can discuss how to say no and how to not feel guilty when we say no. Okay. Now, now there is the exercise that we did yesterday, which were the questions that we reflected on. And we can use the same questions today to just train ourselves again, um, to find to find the good, to find joy in things we would have overlooked, could have overlooked. So for that, it's a short practice. I again invite you to sit straight, lower your gaze, close your eyes, and just taking a few deep breaths so you are feeling more centered, more present. And if I say today, but say today's just started for you, then you could do that for yesterday. Okay, so as I say these questions, you can reflect on the answers. You can think about what comes up for you. If something feels challenging and you're not able to find anything, that's okay as well. We can keep practicing and seeing if there's any progress. So, starting with what ordinary moment today was actually extraordinary? What ordinary moment today was actually extraordinary? Where did life support me today? Where did life support me today? What is working in my life that I rarely acknowledge? What is working in my life that I rarely acknowledge? What comfort have I started taking for granted? What comfort have I started taking for granted? What challenge from my past has unexpectedly become a gift? What challenge from my past has unexpectedly become a gift? What ability in my body am I thankful for today? What ability in my body am I thankful for today? What relationship has enriched my life in ways I rarely acknowledge? What relationship has enriched my life in ways I rarely acknowledge? Which strength do I underestimate in myself? Which strength do I underestimate in myself? What am I proud of in myself as I am today? What am I proud of in myself as I am today? What would someone who loves me appreciate about me today? What would someone who loves me appreciate about me today? What have I done this year that my past self would be amazed by? What have I done this year that my past self would be amazed by? What act of kindness has touched me recently? What act of kindness has touched me recently? Whom would I like to thank more often? Whom would I like to thank more often? And the last five questions now. What is already here that I keep postponing my appreciation for? What is already here that I keep postponing my appreciation for? What wish from 5 years ago has become today's reality? What wish from 5 years ago has become today's reality? What in my life once felt impossible but now feels ordinary? What in my life once felt impossible but now feels ordinary? What have I become accustomed to in myself that my younger self would have appreciated? What have I become accustomed to in myself that my younger self would have appreciated? And the last question, how has life been kinder to me than I have noticed? How has life been kinder to me than I have noticed? And with that, extending gratitude to your body, to your mind, to your breath, and slowly coming back, moving your attention back to the room you're in, and then opening your eyes. Um, so, thank you. Thanks for practicing with me. We will tomorrow continue on this theme, positive psychology and gratitude. And we will try and understand a bit more about how it works, and we will focus a little bit more about ourselves and our strengths. So how can we develop more confidence in the self, and can we train our attention to focus on that rather than focusing on our weaknesses? That's what tomorrow will be about. So yeah, please practice. Please do the exercise of writing down things you're grateful for, 10 things in the day. And on Friday, when we finish this module, it'll be nice to hear from everyone and to share some things from the week that we rejoiced in. So see you all tomorrow. Have a good day. Have a good evening. And yeah, thank you. Bye.